Get your day started right with coffee and ham radios.
Oh, wow. You do
Did
that.
you like
Read
that
the next
professional
line, Jim.
intro?
Repeat the line.
Repeat the line.
Right.
Repeat the
You're
line.
very presidential, reading off the teleprompter.
Now our show begins. Point to ape. Okay.
All right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to look at doublets, and I know our good friend. What's his name? That guy down there in Texas.
Hey, we're not live yet.
Oh, we're not live.
I hit the live.
It takes a minute for it to
live.
get to
I got 36
YouTube.
seconds live.
Oh, there's probably some. It's live.
Now it's
probably
live.
faster here.
But there's probably
I'm
commercials
up high.
for the pores.
Well, anyhow, as I was saying, our friend Don's actually building a
The
doublet
Cheeps.
right now, and he and I and Ape have chatted a little bit in a chat once about different things, and we're going to talk about that stuff. Don used a different bracket than I did. I'll share the one that I use. Mine's been up for I want to say 8 years, 7 or 8 years now. It's held up well. I got it from DX Engineering. But first of all, we're going to talk to. We're going to ask Jim. Jim, what do you got going on? Anything earth-shattering right now?
I have 2 new to me radios. Holy moly, I have more nerd stuff to do than I know what to do with.
Radios.
I got a Kenwood TS2000 and a Yaesu FT857.
Why are you telling us you're not going to make any videos and share it with us?
How many videos can one make about a radio? Look, it's a radio. It has knobs and lights and buttons. Everybody that watches my videos would probably know what they all are.
I
don't
assume
know.
there's something special about the radio.
First
that
off,
you could talk
Jim,
about.
you could do a video
there's-
taking it out of the box.
They're special to me.
Right, you could
was
be like,
kinda-
look, here's a radio, taking it out of the box.
Listen, I
That'd
got this from
very
Joe.
ham-tuber thing to do.
K1.
W1UR, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's right. And Joe packed this thing. This thing could have gone through. I mean, you know that refrigerator that Indiana Jones lived through the atomic blast in? Yeah, this is better packed than Indiana Jones in that fridge, man. This thing would take a nuke.
This thing
it
could
took
go
me-
through TSA and they wouldn't know what's in it.
TSA would not be able to scan this. That's right. It
Pass
took me
it through.
20
Don't know
minutes
what
and
it
a
is,
knife
pass it
to
through.
get through all the packing.
I'll be right back. I'm going to close the door and see if I can get rid of some of the glare.
Okay. Keep your hat on. That's important.
Oh, thank God he's wearing pants.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a high risk move right there. I
Well,
was
that
thinking,
was.
Well, I spent a weekend in the RV with Chuck, and yeah, thank God he's wearing pants. That's all I gotta
Yeah.
say.
I
He likes to
shared a
walk around
hotel
in
room
his-
with him in Orlando last year.
in those old man boxers, like the blue ones, the light blue ones or whatever.
Yeah.
They have more than 5 holes.
Yeah, that didn't really help much, did it? The window still has a window in it.
So I got this guy, the Kenwood TS2000. I had it on yesterday, made some contacts with it. Love it. Really nice radio. Might get rid of my 9700 because this does everything the 9700 does.
Oh,
Maybe.
really?
Holy.
We'll see.
It does
Doesn't
more
do
than your
D-Star.
9700,
And
right?
T.O., you know how much we love D-Star here.
I love
Well, when
it.
are you going
My
to finish
favorite-
the series on the 9700?
The one he hasn't started?
One I haven't started.
I was going to say, has he started?
And then I've got the 857, which I'll be taking to Huntsville to play with at the park at Huntsville.
Nice.
I actually am going to try and do several videos on the 857. The problem with where I have to shoot, and this is a first world YouTuber problem, but I don't have a good place to set up this big honking radio
But wood
And all the
paneling is kind of second world.
and
don't
all
kid
the
yourself.
connection. Oh, it's Alabama, so it is second world. And yeah, it's hard to shoot something this big.
Chuck wandered off again. He think he
Is
is
this his show? This is his show, right?
It
Okay.
is.
Yeah, but you weren't stopped talking, so I figured I'd try it one more time to see if I could get some glare off.
We're just glad you have pants on, son.
You know, I almost didn't. TL,
So-
anything? What do you got going? You're living in the trailer again, right?
I'm living the dream, man. I'm in the new ham shack. This is the Steve's ham cave here, the front part of the RV, and now I got to start.
It didn't
building
sound so
actual
dreamy
furniture
when you had to
into
clean the tank out though. I didn't-
That's
it.
right.
Oh, the tank was okay. I mean, actually, like this campsite that we're staying at is super tight, and like I was puckered up pretty hard trying to get back into the original campsite, almost jackknife the trailer, trying to just maneuver. I'm like, screw it, I'm going somewhere else.
Well,
We're
is it-
still in another campsite.
Is it super tight, or that you've got like 80 or 90 feet of trailer and truck?
Well, I've got the 4-door, 8-foot bed dually pickup truck,
Dually.
and then I've got a 36-foot box, and then you
Man.
got the tongue in front of that, and then this thing's got to be like 150 feet long. I am not smart enough to operate this trailer.
He's like a
When
big
you showed the picture of
line.
it, I was thinking to myself, "Damn, I don't think I would be brave enough to drive that
That's
thing
a big
around."
pull trailer. I got to tell you.
biggest one they make. Yeah.
Ape?
Well, I'm coming off the COVIDs, and
Yeah.
I'm feeling better every day, a little bit better. But a couple days ago, I thought I told my wife, I said, get my affairs in order. I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this one.
I'm coming, Elizabeth.
I'm coming, Elizabeth. That's right.
The other thing is like I've been watching the Olympics. I don't know if y'all have been watching that or not.
Yep.
And
No.
I'm really offended that America did not win the gold medal in the shooting competition.
I am too.
And I went back and I was looking at some of these people who went and were shooting, and I don't feel that we put our best forward. You know what I mean? Like, personally, if I was in charge of that, I would have entered Alec Baldwin in that. He's a pretty good shooter. That's
Right.
a joke. I guess anybody
Well,
thought it was funny. I thought
we
it was
obviously
hilarious.
didn't put our best foot forward in women's basketball because they left the best player back in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, you're right. That
Whatever
gal.
her name is.
I did.
And then
I
I
haven't
picked this thing up. When I'm
that
pretty excited
that Turkish
about that.
guy
Yeah.
Look at you.
shooting plain gun
Yeah.
iron sights.
So I don't know if
Unassisted.
what
We
I'm going to
need
do
him.
with this or not.
What? Hold it back up. I'm sorry. I was talking about the Turkish guy. What you got there, Cletus?
DLP 100A by Telepost.
That's probably one of the best ones you can buy right there.
It is.
That is fancy.
It's a vector SWR meter.
Well, see, nobody's gonna bird shame you when you put that in the video.
Right.
Right.
Bird
So
shaming is pretty deep in the ham community.
Yeah. Hey,
Tall
thanks,
Todd's
Scott.
in here.
Tall Florida Todd.
So, I was thinking we were going to talk about the car
Thank you
doublet
for the
kit.
super chat.
Thank you.
And the reality of it is that the answer is probably no. And the reason being that is because the doublet needs that ladder line, and it is not practical to buy, store, and ship that stuff in the quantities that we do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
We could
Like, we'd
probably
have to-
do everything
A
but that.
1,000-foot roll of that, right? So say we were going to do 10 antennas, which is not a lot. We'd have to buy 1,000-foot roll of that, which is probably monster size. Chuck will blow out his O-ring carrying it in off the porch. Then he's got
More-
to figure out a way to cut 100-foot sections out of that stuff and then wind it up and get it into a box.
And then more importantly, Mrs. Thompson will probably end Chuck if he brings many more parts into the Chuck house.
Yeah, so I just don't. I
And
don't see
she's
how
a
it's
tiny
practical.
woman, but she's like dynamite. So,
We could maybe do parts of it. I mean, maybe they supply their own ladder line because there's different types. We're going to talk about that today. There's different types of or sizes of ladder line also.
So actually, to tell you the truth, this is an antenna kit that you can't screw up, and we almost don't want to be associated with it because we only make stuff that people can screw up.
Right, it's pretty easy. I mean, you don't even have to cut any. Well, you'd have to have 2 pieces of wire, and that's all you really need. But Jim, I just want to ask Jim. Jim's the least antenna guy here, and I bet you can answer this. But why would you want to do, let's say, a doublet over like a fan dipole, especially if you lived in a neighborhood where people might not really like you putting up antennas? What
I
would be the
will
experience?
be honest that I don't really know what a doublet is other than some kind of dipole. That's it.
Oh.
You have extended all of my knowledge about a doublet antenna
Okay.
versus a
Hey,
dipole.
That's more
David,
than most people who make videos on them. So that's pretty.
I mean,
good.
I'll admit it. I don't know. I've never made. I know what a dipole is. Easy peasy. I've been making FM dipoles since
All
they
right.
invented stereos, and you lived
Are
in
you
a
still
dorm.
Are you still hating on that Rockland Rover 8?
No, I'd love that. I want to get one of those.
So the main advantage to my first antenna I built for my setup was a fan dipole, and I have to tell you guys, it's a lot of work to figure out all the links and everything, and then when you start to hang it, and I made it out of 18 or 14 gauge, so it's fairly heavy, and when you start pulling it through trees and stuff, it's kind of a pain. The advantage to the doublet is that you've got one single wire, and you just make it for the lowest band you want to talk on. And we're going to talk about some shortened doublets also. I'll give you guys a really good. I gave this to Don when he started his, and actually I gave this to Ape a long time ago when we were talking about doublets. DX Engineering has a really good write-up on how to do it and how to do it right. If you guys don't know that, DX Engineering, they're not just a place that sells stuff. They make products and they sell. They actually like what was the Hustler 5 BBT? They
Yeah.
actually have a whole instruction manual on how to install somebody else or how to set up somebody else's antenna because they put the time into it. And then Jim just brought us up the kit. Now, when I did my kit, my buddy Gary told me if you want to do 80, he goes buy the one for 160 because you can't buy the wire, the extra wire it comes with because it costs double the wire. You can't buy the wire for the price. It was at that time it was only like $10 more or something. I think.
Well, they have a $70 version or $75 version I was looking at, and I almost ordered it.
So they
but
sell them in what 40, 80, and 120.
Yeah, I was looking at the
160?
at the 40.
Excuse me.
So that's the 300 ohm ladder line, right? So
Yeah,
I do have like 50 feet of the 450 ladder line sitting here.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to each. I like the 300. It's smaller, it's narrower, doesn't really show up as much as say some custom stuff that you can make. The custom stuff's probably the best. You know, like 650 ohm, I think is what some of that is. But if you're trying to hide your antenna, it's not going to be the best.
How much wire comes in this $100 one?
135 feet.
Yeah, it's 100 feet of the 300 ohm, I think.
Well, hold on a second. That's the what? Are you sure it's a? I'm not sure I buy that. Like, you sure that that's not the aerial wire, not the?
I think that's the aerial wire. I don't
That's
see
the
ladder
aerial
line
wire.
listed in this at all.
It is. You can see.
Oh, there
right
it is. There it is.
The
There's
big one.
ladder line.
There's
Okay.
100
Yeah.
feet of that.
So
I
we
think
just
all the
changed
kits
from.
come with 100 feet of the 300 ohm, and then it's basically you got two sets of wires for the dipole itself.
Click on that documentation tab.
Well, I think he's.
Yeah, hang on. I've got the PDF. It's a PDF.
He
I
already
got
has it up.
Let me reshare with the PDF.
So the main advantage is you get, say you make it for 80, you get 80 to pretty much 6, and one piece of wire. Now the other problem with this, now you have to tune each of those bands, so you need a tuner. And we're going to talk about balance because the type of balun that you use nowadays has changed from what people used to use most of the time. But
See, that
One-
WA70 is the one I was going to order.
yeah,
This,
right.
they all come with extra length wire elements, 100 feet of premium 300 ohm ladder line.
Right. So you get the two wire links and then the ladder line.
And
But if they all come with 100 feet of the ladder line, I'd probably buy the 70 anyway. I mean, I get that you would get more of the other wire, but I've got tons of wire around here.
wires.
Their wire is actually really good though. That's one of the nice things about
I mean,
the
is
wire.
that like DX10 wire or something?
It's really close to what yeah.
Hey, Paul. So you're trying to say that my wire's not really good wire?
I
That's
didn't
kind of
say
what
that.
I got out
I
of
didn't
that.
say that. If you're gonna do your own, the
Your
poly
if your speaker wire is the minimum amount of flare that you want to do, that's
and
fine.
you want
man.
to adjust everything it adjusts itself because it stretches, right? Get down.
And you have admitted on stream you have to go out and tighten up your saggy line every so often.
That was with the wire that I bought. They came with my kit that I bought from the league. That was that was that wire.
Okay.
And I did have one out there that was speaker wire.
And I think something we need to talk about here, and this could be the answer to the question Chuck asked me. They recommend you get this kit 35 feet up in the air.
For that length.
Yeah.
So if you look at the one for the 40 through 10, they say get it up 25 feet.
Well, like any other antenna, the higher you can get it, the
Right.
better.
Well,
And
my
that
point is,
lowers
and yeah, that's
the angle.
correct. But Ape has said this, and I think T.O. has said this, is, you buy a kit like this, and this is not a bad price for what you're getting for this either.
No, not really at all.
But let's be honest, most of us have no way to get a wire 25 or 35 feet up in the air.
It'll still work though.
Yeah,
I'm making me an NVIS doublet, boy.
it'll be
It's
an
gonna be
NVIS
about-
doublet. That's right.
It's going to be a 6 feet. 6 feet.
Yeah. See, mine's at 40 feet, and mine's like kind of a sloper, and it goes 30 feet. I used to have it 80 to 40. I didn't notice a ton of difference, but it's really good on 80, like to the San Diego, Seattle, the up north and south for me. really good distance from on 40, I should say, not 80.
Well, we kind of put the cart before the horse. So can we start off with why would I want a doublet? Chuck?
What the hell is a doublet?
Instead of a
That's where I-
dipole.
That's
yeah.
where I started. You guys went off on other
Hold,
tangents.
not one you
we,
guys.
we do not go off on tangents. No.
That never
I'm a
happens. There are
victim.
no squirrels here,
So-
Chuck. Is that a new baseball cap? Nice
Mine?
T-shirt. No squirrels here.
So you can now. I've done this, and I was told it doesn't work. You can do the same thing. You can do a long. Say you do 110 feet for 80 to 6, and you run coax to it. I was told by a guy that just gave me a 5.9 signal report, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I'm on it right now. Yeah, but you can't do that. He's right, but he's wrong, right? If that's all you can do, and the reason I did that, I set this thing up at the firehouse, and I was not going to be able to run ladder line down through a bunch of metal down into the firehouse where I was using the radio. So I just used coax, and it worked. It tuned. But Abe, why would you want to use something else like ladder line instead of coax? What's the main reason?
I think the main reason is low loss, right?
Right.
And the thing is that the doublets work multiple bands quite well.
Right.
Opposed to like an end-fed half wave or random wire, they work multiple bands pretty well, but not as well as the doublet. And it's like the doublet's kind of like the granddaddy of multi-banded antennas, right?
Right.
And you can use them effectively with super duper high SWR. So the thing is that you definitely want a good tuner on those. You're not going to use that on an internal tuner. Maybe it's something that has like a 10 to 1 in it, like
Some bands
like an
might.
Elecraft or
Some of your bands
Or-
might.
or G90 you might be able to do it with that.
So you think it's so the ladder line is more is you're going to get more of your signal out with the ladder line. The guy was correct telling me that I shouldn't. He was wrong saying I can't do that because I could, and I was. But he was right that using ladder line is better. And then we get into balance. Now, if most people, when you start talking doublets, are going to tell you you need a 4-to-1 for the Ballon, right?
Yeah.
And that's not. If you read this information, that we'll post that. We'll post it up.
Well, that's been a big shift. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of misconceptions that exist over time, and lots of the antenna manufacturers, lots of people were designing the doublets with a 4-to-1. But I think what people are coming to realize is you might be better off with a 1-to-1 on there.
because your
and then
tuner
letting you-
can handle
Yeah.
higher differences. And the problem when you do a 4-to-1 now, you're already using your ladder line, which helps, right?
Well, I think the problem
Now
is
you're
that
using
with
Ballon.
sometimes with some doublets, what'll happen is that your impedance can actually be pretty low, right? So like, let's say that
Right.
you have 90 ohms of impedance, right? And then your 4-to-1 is going to chop that down to like 30 ohms coming across your connection to your tuner. And tuners sometimes will have a harder time tuning lower
Right.
impedances than they do
17
higher.
ohms. 17 and a half. Something
17,
like 20,
yeah.
20. I don't know. It's math. My brain hurts.
It's less. So we'll agree
Less,
that it's
much
less.
less.
Your
And
tuner wants to see some difference, so it can tune it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So you really should use a 1-to-1, and they go into what type.
Now,
of-
is that a current Ballon you're talking about or a voltage Ballon?
I would use a current balance.
It's the current
That was
balance.
my understanding too, but
It looks
I want to
like
verify that.
the one they sell that they recommend looks like they're using that 400 coax ape that you bought for your shot for all your pigtails.
What are you talking about, son?
The
Oh,
LMR
yeah, the-
400.
The RG.
It's not
the RG
LMR
400.
400, LG 400.
It's RG. It's RG 400.
RG 400. And it looks like that's what they're using to make their Ballon out of. So I have to admit I do use a 4-to-1 because that's what I was told when I first started getting into this, and I had already bought my stuff. I put a 1-to-1 on it, and it worked also. The 1-to-1 was just something I threw together real quick. It wasn't as high output. But
Thank you, Don, for the $5.
Donald, thank you for the $5
Thank
Thank
super
you, sir.
chat.
Thank you, sir.
I don't imagine there's any current radios that have a balanced antenna connection.
Not these days. I think in the old days they probably did.
I was going to say in the olden days, like when Don was only in his 50s,
Yeah,
probably.
you could probably buy an old ICOM or Kenwood or
I mean, you're talking
These
probably
that had
tube
it.
radios or older.
Tube radios.
Maybe the 70s, but probably before then.
There's probably people that could tell us that, but you really do want the 1-to-1. And if did you post that that PDA, the instructions from them?
Yes.
If you guys are interested on that, go to their site or save this now. This is really
Keep
a lot
scrolling
of
down.
information because there's information in there because you're technically supposed to. Well, when you do your ladder line, you're supposed to have it cut to a certain length too, and it tells you how to do that. And basically, they're saying,
Yeah, keep going, Jen. It tells you how to do all that stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
And I wrote it down. It's basically you're going to do. I can't see very good.
There's
There's
some math. Just keep going. But they have a table in here.
That's it right there. Yeah, it tells you right there in the table.
So this one, if you look at 7 megahertz for the frequency, so it says shorten dipole 55 feet, and then make the feed line an odd multiple or close to this length. So 1 is 15. So you can make that 30, which would be an even multiple. So you don't want to do that. So you'd have to go from 15 to 45. But I think I could probably make this 7 megahertz one is the one I think I was interested in.
Run through that math again you just did, because you lost me, son.
Well, if you
All right,
read the chart there, it tells you in multiples of 1, 3, 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
if you look at the 7 megahertz, it's telling you that you need a multiple of 15,
Okay.
right? So you can either do 15 feet of ladder line
3 times that,
or 3 times that, which would be 45 feet.
or 5.
Right. I got you.
Yeah. Or you could do 5, which would be 75 feet.
And just so everybody knows, the 55 is each side. And this is what I'm running right now.
So you'd have 110 feet of radiator wire and
this is what I'm running right now, and I consistently get like, "What are you on?" Because my signal is strong, and a lot of times I'm stronger than other signals that are somewhere.
and then this feed line needs
I don't
to be
think that's
this
either
multiple.
I don't
So
think that's either
you're
side,
looking
John.
at
Yeah,
5
feet on each
15
side.
feet, 45.
55 feet on each side is not a shortened dipole, though. That would be 110 feet when a half wave of 7 is 66 feet.
Read through the instructions. This is exactly what they say to use for actually it's for 80.
Yeah, so you can still do the math, right? So DX Engineering
Right.
300 ladder line has a velocity factor. Blah, blah, blah. If 90 feet is required to get your, that's talking about the
ladder
So you
line.
get to your mounting position. That's your ladder line length.
keep scrolling.
Actually, the 110 feet is Abe's probably right. The 110 feet is for the 80. That's what I have.
Yeah.
So it was 55 feet. You're right.
Yeah, Chris, that's correct.
Yeah, I just put 100 out there and it works fine because it kind of reached where I needed to go. I actually do need to shorten mine some now that I repositioned my antenna. Like I said, I had it in an old eucalyptus tree behind my house, and that was 80 feet from the ground level of my house to the top of that one. But
Tia, when you made yours, you just took the parts, right? You just went outside and hooked together all the stuff that you had, right?
Oh yeah, and the hardest part is in the instructions they tell you 100 foot of wire, but they don't really tell you like it's 50 feet on each side. So I had to kind of do some math, and then in the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. Like Chuck was saying, cut it for your lowest band of interest. Cut it longer than your lowest band of interest. Cut it shorter than your lowest band of interest.
whatever you can put up.
The
right?
more wire, the better. It's like this is the world's most forgiving antenna kit.
And Ape was right. That was 55 feet total for that. Because
I would love
looked
to
at
have
the
trees
80
like
for the
this in my yard.
Mm-hmm. Listen, that's antenna trees.
So
I
I think
need some of them.
if you guys notice on this picture, the two that go up high are the ones that hang it, and the antenna is actually the straight. They're showing you trying to get it straight across.
The straight line is the radiating, and then this is
that's
the
the antenna. The other ones are just ropes to hold it up.
See,
I
I'd
don't
have to
have
do
mine
mine
up that way.
as an
Are you
inverted
sure?
V, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that are coming down in the V shape are supports.
okay. Yeah, now it looks like it.
They should have put that in the picture.
And your wire's not going to be this straight across them trees.
Probably not. Mine's almost straight in a slope, but not quite. I mean, it's the middle's going to hang down if you don't get the middle up. But now Don bought a different kit, and his I think has 450, right, Abe?
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the other kits that they have on the DX.
I don't know if they
Engineering.
have any other kits on there, and maybe Don can tell us the kit that he bought.
I wonder
I've
if
seen
Don's
that
using
before.
a manual tuner with his.
Yeah. Now the other thing is you want to keep your when you actually go into the house with your
Let it
coax,
die, son. Let it die.
you want to be what 5 to 15 feet I think is max of, and you want to use like LMR 400 or 213 or something like that. You don't want to use RG8X because now you've lost what you've gained, right? So you want to use a
What?
good quality coax from the Ballon to your radio.
See, I think one of the pieces of consternation I have around it is that I'm not going to be able to run ladder line all the way into the shack into the tuner, and
Right.
so what I'm just type doublet in the keyword search. So what I'll do is I'll probably transition somewhere to coaxial cable and then run the rest of it in via
Actually,
coax.
mine.
Now, how much?
Which-
What is that going to affect, Ape, when you do that?
Well,
Besides
I
your
think
velocity factor overall, so the links.
well you're going to be incurring loss because of the coaxial cable, right? And then I think where the challenge is that if you run the ladder line all the way to your tuner, you don't anything that goes back and forth on the transmission line is not going to get lost. It's going to come back, hit the tuner, and then reflect back and forth. And there's minimal loss, but it's like in the percentage category. It's not like
Yeah.
3 dB that you see with certain
Mine comes in the house
TMU coax.
to the Ballon, and then from the Ballon, I have like a it's 5 or 6 foot piece of coax to the radio.
Excuse me. It's pronounced Temu.
Oh, it's a Temu coax. So I saw a thing, but a bunch of people are suing Temu now.
Timu. I don't know what to call them.
So why would I buy this kit here, Chuck?
This is just parts.
That's just a parts kit. If you wanted to supply
Yeah.
your own wire and stuff,
But see, that thing looks like it's monster size, though.
I think it's the same basic kit.
Antenna
Well, why's
wire
one $30 and
components.
one's $80?
The other one has a Ballon or something in it, didn't it?
It might have the Ballon in it. Yeah, this is you provide all the wire.
But the one below it's 80.
Yeah, but it has. I think it has a connection. I don't know what that is.
It has a couple of. It has a
that
butt
might just be a
connector and then
connector.
this hand jammed.
That one's
Yeah,
made
fit-
of coax. Looks like.
Fitty for all. The problem is that if you buy the other one, you're going to pay $20 in shipping,
Yeah.
right? DX Engineering, I love them. They're great, but man, do they get you on the shipping.
We got
Unlike
about
Coffee and
$8,
Ham
right?
radios, where we ship at cost.
So what else did I have down in here? Yeah, we want to keep your coax to a minimum to prevent loss.
So I don't
and
see
stuff.
any other doublet kits in here when I looked for doublet.
Did Don ever put the one he has?
If he did, I missed it.
Booing them LDGs.
His kit was set up to run the 450 watt ladder line. And now some of the disadvantages, like on my 300 ohm stuff, when it rains, I have to constantly every so often change my tune. It doesn't. I mean, because the water does affect it. Now that's not the one they actually recommend.
Ape,
there.
does that Ballon meet your approval though? Look at that! Look at that Toroid wrap there, son. That's hand wrapped by 15-year-old kids in Ohio after school.
He's muted himself for some
Right.
reason. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it doesn't pass the sniff test. That to me looks like
What?
that does not look well wrapped to me. I'm sorry.
That's not the one they recommend for this antenna either.
All right, what do you want me to find? Because Doublet returns no antennas.
I wanted
was
to
just
look at those
hoping- I was
kits. Let's look
hoping
at the
that,
look at the
Don would-
documentation on that kit. I want to see that.
On the kit, you want to look at the $30 one, the 83, or the 85?
I don't care. And Don's saying he bought the ZS6. I never get that right.
That's his
EKW
Zen.
From
They're not
Pal-
American.
for Palomars.
Oh,
Don
it
must be
opens it
rich.
up as a damn PDF.
He said he built from
Ooh,
different
John,
parts
rough.
that he had, but his hanger was actually designed for 450.
What you mean his hanger?
The center section?
Oh, okay. I thought you meant something different for a second.
That was his. His was designed for 450. Now you can go into and every time you talk about a Doublet, there's a guy Tio can probably say who it is because they get into making your own ladder line, which is probably the best if you really
Mhm.
want to go high performance.
Code Harbor feed line. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Our buddy Kevin.
I think that ends up being 650, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
the more ohms, the better.
Yeah. So I don't know what the difference. That one has the thing where you hang your coax there.
Yeah.
You know, and they're using the 300 on that as well. I thought that was going to use the 450.
Optional parts shown.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna see if I can find my 450.
It's 450. I had a 450 for a while. Oh, we're talking not motorcycles. Okay.
All right.
He said he bought that from HRO, the 450 ohm hanger. It's really choice. The 450 is probably a little bit in the range. The 650 stuff is probably, you probably don't have to really tune it too much. Gary would know. Gary's the one that talked me into doing this. I was running an infed halfway for quite a while, which did well. He calls those half antennas, but it worked really well. It was from my antennas. It was 5,000 max or something like that. I did notice it would creep up around 700-800, and I finally just grounded it. Not ground radios, but I just grounded the antenna, and I got rid of that problem.
Yeah.
Actually, I actually have a doublet setup that we looked into for a while. We weren't going to use the 300 ohm or something. We were just going to do more like a speaker, what they call the speaker wire antenna.
Ape, there's what Don got.
Yeah, saying he must be rich. I think
Okay.
that was expensive. So I did get, this is 50 feet.
Yeah.
It says $50 on there. I don't know what I paid for it.
$1 a foot, jeez.
Yeah, this is the 450 ladder line.
Ladder line's not cheap.
You must not have used any of it off of that, because the first time you open that, it'll never go back and look that pretty.
Yeah, no, I never did. I bought it because originally
you can
I was
actually
going to
wind
make
it back
J
up like
poles.
that. I've got that shortened doublet. I forget the brand. Where they run the wire back and forth.
We could put together a doublet center, and then sell that with all the hardware that goes with it.
And maybe make it 300 or 450.
Yeah, BYOW.
But see, I think that if I use this ladder line, I can't use those measurements though, because those measurements are for 300.
For 300.
You need to
So
know
what I was going to do is, what I was going to do, and this is white trash as heck, but I was just going to take 25 feet of this, put it into a 1-to-1, and then put 25 or maybe 30-foot aerials on it. Now I'd have to mount it as an inverted V. So
let me ask the question then. If we were to do a kit and it was BYOW, right? Bring your own wire.
Yeah.
What kind of wire would we recommend? Would the BN Tech Go 22 gauge work, or do we need beefier wire?
No.
No,
It's
not
much
for permanent.
Because of the current and the voltage going through it.
Well, it's not.
I'd
It's not
probably-
even that. The more wire you have in the air, the heavier the thing gets, and then you have your center support and you have your ladder line hanging off of that. You really want to flat top a doublet. You don't have to, but you really want to, and you have to pull that nice and tight. And that wire, the BN Tech wire at 22 gauge, is too tiny, too thin. You want you want like 12 gauge wire up there, and even then, that's going to be stretchy and whatnot. So you need some strength.
Some strength.
Yeah, you want something with like some Kevlar reinforcement inside or something else in it, so that when you pull, you're pulling the Kevlar, not the stretchy copper.
Can you look them up, Jim? True.
If you put
ladder
all that
Okay.
wire in there, like I was thinking about making like a mini doublet.
Don is trolling you
20
specifically,
meters?
though, Chuck.
I know.
I'm
Yeah,
enjoying
well,
this at the moment.
If you're going to
Yeah,
set this
something
up,
Don, thank you for the $5 super chat.
Yeah,
I have
thank
to
you,
go
Don.
Google this now for Chuck.
if you're going to set it up permanent, you probably want to run 14 or 18 gauge wire. What is theirs? Theirs is 18. I forgot.
I'd probably go with 12, just because I'm
Well,
overbuilding
whatever you
everything.
want, but the bigger the wire you go, like T.O.'s saying, the heavier it's going to get. I might even go with, and I'm not a big fan of it, but I might even go with the steel wire, so it won't stretch. Not that actually stretch is not going to hurt you as bad, except it will change your tunes. But
Change your tune, huh?
well, if it stretches where your settings are going to go. So a secret to doing a doublet, what you do is you go through one day and you find all your settings for like the middle of each band and write them down, And that way, when you go to each band, switch from band to band, you look at your chart, you put it there, and then you fine tune it. And it's pretty fast that way. So that's one way. And this is, this place here, they build their own. Look how big their ladder line is. You're not going to hide that stuff at your HOA.
Look at how crappy that picture is.
Yeah, the picture's not very good.
No, it's beyond not very good. It's shit.
Yeah. Looks like they used a.
I think they used the same picture, and he's like,
Probably did.
had his kid phone that in on his Nokia.
But that's just the ladder line at that point.
That is just the ladder line. And Chuck's right. You ain't hiding that.
Like, look at it. See, it looked like a bird nest in there.
Yeah. Now you can build this if you want to do your own. You go to the dollar store and buy your little Bic pins. Take the center out, run a long zip tie through it, and you can do the same thing if you want to build your own.
You can also 3D print spacers all day.
Yeah, I think the Bic pin might last longer. I don't know.
If there's no mechanical stress on the PLA, it's going to be fine.
Yeah,
It might squeeze, but I do it in Pet G. I do it in Pet G. I wouldn't do it in PLA.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's Thingiverse things for that. I've never.
There is. I've looked.
And if you really wanted to go super high performance and get the best out of your antenna, this is probably what you should do.
Okay, but this is 600 ohm, and all they sell here is 600 and 450.
Okay, so what wire? Did it say what size wire?
No, it's crappy pictures with the same picture for every one.
There's nothing when you click on it that says like what size wire they use.
No.
Oh wow, no information.
It's the same terrible picture, and just different lengths.
Now, Jim, this is somebody's baby you're talking about, by the way.
I know, and
you're being delicate, is what I'm trying to say.
How dare!
I know.
How dare!
This baby is ugly, and you should put it back. It
So
needs to cook a lot longer.
He should use 12 gauge for all the feed line and the other parts, and let us know.
I mean, if I had, and see, I've got a 14 kV power line about 30 feet out my shack window, so I can't really antenna out there anywhere. I would love to, because I would do a doublet out there, but I've got two trees that would work, but they're too close to the power line for me to even think about fooling with antennas and ladders anywhere near it.
So the real advantage to a doublet is mine will tune from at least from 6 to 80. It won't. I could not tune any lower, but I don't go there anyhow. So you have one wire in the air for a bunch of antennas. That's why when my wife counts that as one antenna, she's not really getting it right. Because
oh boy,
I know she might be. I think she's working. We're trying to get ready for the birthday party, so she's probably not watching right now.
They do not say anywhere on here what kind of wire they're using. Look, it's the same picture.
That's strange.
Same tree, at least. It's a different picture, but same day.
And technically, you don't.
Oh, there it is. 16 gauge.
Oh, 16 gauge. So it's not even that. I would at least do 14. I think isn't that the 300 almost 14? I think.
See, Chuck, why don't you talk a little bit about the third from the bottom bullet right there? It says nearly unaffected by rain.
Yeah, when you go with the bigger stuff, it supposedly is less affected. 300 gets affected quite a bit. Like when I'm talking to my buddies down in San Diego and it's raining, and I didn't notice for a long time because it didn't rain here for a long time. I kept noticing my SWR would creep, and I'd have to readjust a little bit. But I think the 650 or the 600, whatever it was, is less susceptible to that. Plus they weren't really using bigger wire because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's 14 gauge.
Don wants us to look at the fourth bullet.
Don, they're all, because I didn't see the wire size on this crap website. And I saw it.
Poor
but
Carpenter
the comments
blames
are
his
coming in.
tools.
No splices, solder, or crimping to fail.
Well, hot damn. Hey, Google NorCal doublet.
Oh, those might have been NorCal doublet. Yeah.
What do you think about those? Hey, Tim.
I have the production one that Teal remembers everything. Well, remember what they call that one? The where the wire goes back and forth and it's shortened, Teal?
Cobra.
Oh, the Cobra antenna, yep.
The Cobra antenna. That's the Cobra, basically, is what he wants you to look up, the NorCal, isn't it?
No.
That's what we're looking at.
NorCal's on the screen right now.
So this is the other one I was going to potentially
Oh,
do.
maybe it's not.
But they for their ladder line on this, they use like computer ribbon cable.
Right. I built
Four
this
strand.
and they use the
Oh,
two
that's
outsides.
crazy.
They use the two outsides, right,
Yeah.
to get the space. What they're trying to do, so that's probably close to a little less than 300, probably.
But if you take a look at the dimensions, that thing is tiny, right? So it's 22 feet on either side.
Yep.
And so I wonder if I could do that with my 450 transmission line. So I'd have to think about that because 28 feet's still doable.
Yeah. I mean, what did I do? I cut one for 40 for my my speaker wire antenna that I made out of the silicone wire, and I used that up on Mount Pacifico when I went with Josh and those guys, and out of the 10 guys that were there, I think 8 of them actually ended up getting their contacts off my antenna. It worked so much better than everything else there, and I just ran the speaker wire. It is basically the speaker wire antenna, but it was short for 40, and I was tuning up 80 no problem on the KX2. And signals on 80 that night were really loud. I didn't try anybody, but I think it's going to be short distance, but that's fine. That's usually what 80 is, except for like early in the mornings. I mean, I used to talk to Gary in Indianapolis all the time, but that was like at freaking 1 o'clock in the morning, my time.
Oops.
It
Somewhere
was
around
time
here. I
for
was
him to
trying to-
get up at his house.
That's the comment I wanted to highlight. He's saying tunes 40 to 10. That's exactly what I want.
Right.
But did you see Hollywood's comment?
Well,
The
he's talking
NorCal
about
version, yes.
he's talking about that computer ribbon cable is not going to handle the juice.
Right. I mean, I'm like,
I think
okay, I'm
that-
not going to go ghetto some ribbon
Well, I
cable out
think
of
that
the
antenna
office.
was designed for QRP, right?
Yes.
It's like a soda. It's like a soda
for
topper.
soda
or
stuff.
whatever.
It was made to be small and light. I actually did the Cobra out of, I found flat line like that. Was it the Cat 5 or something like that? But I bought the stuff that was flat on purpose. I know that's not the best one, right, Jim? But it's hard to find. And I did the Cobra where you go back and forth, shorten, so you get the length, but it's way shorter. I should do something. I should do a video on that thing because it actually worked. It's all ribbon line, but I wouldn't put more than 100 watts through it. And I think I have put 100 watts.
Tim's
through
done
it.
the 44 on 80.
Yeah. It'll work if your tuner's good enough.
That's what he's saying. It's twitchy,
Right.
dodgy.
So really good antenna.
Sketchy.
I know it's kind of like the Rybakoff right now. It's kind of popular in videos and stuff, but it's been around. That's probably one of the oldest antennas out there, dipole and that. And Gary knew that I just wanted one antenna to do a bunch of stuff. That's why I put the infed half wave up. And he goes, "You'll like this better." And I do. The infed half wave is great antenna for certain purposes, like going out and doing a pot or soda. It's hard to get anything easier to throw up, right? Except maybe the Poseidon. The way I set up my Poseidon is pretty good, fast. But some places may frown on it because I actually drive a stake in the ground. But was there any questions? If you guys, like I said,
No.
if you only have room for one antenna, this is one of the best antennas. You do have to have a tuner, though. You have to have, and you don't have to have. I mean, you can buy an MFJ tuner. Probably the one.
No,
that,
you can't.
Well, you could. Well, you can used. But I'm talking. You don't have to buy. Like I have a really nice one, and my MFJ tunes up just as easy, if not easier, sometimes. But it's not as smooth. So I have the roller, and the roller in my Palomar is like way smoother.
So Chuck, how come you can tune this and you can't tune a coax fed dipole?
Because of losses. The coax has too much loss, and you can, like I said originally, you can do it. It just won't be as efficient. That's the problem. If that's all you got, do it. I mean, try it. I was using that MFJ down at the firehouse, tuning for at least 40 to 10. You know.
Yes, there are. I think LDG has one, I believe.
Palomar. Yeah, my LDG.
And I think
Pro 200
Palomar does too. has twin lead connectors on the back of it. That's a good question.
But
It's the only
it
ones I've
most
seen
likely has a-
consistently is MFJs. But yeah, there's
Most
other ones
likely
I've
has
seen.
a 4-to-1 though. Okay.
They're making fun of me. Listen, Don, I had the
Listen, Don.
COVIDs. I was suffering here. I'm a victim.
He's been bitching nonstop for a week. We want him to get better, so he just goes back.
Well,
to
when I was
drinking
coming
at
in and
night
out of
coming up with
consciousness.
crazy.
Like on Wednesday, I'm laying on the couch and I would
You
pass
can
out and then
close
I'd
that
wake
now,
back
you're
up.
Probably not feeling good. Sorry. Caddy's coming in. No, I didn't change it.
But we weren't worried because none of the inventory is at Ape's house
Right.
at all.
That's what
So we're like, okay, we can
Right.
replace him.
Right. Just open
I
up
mean, we
another-
need a Kermutch and we'll get Don on here,
Right,
and
open
it'll
a
be
job
like all the
post.
same. All right, that's right.
do a
Yeah,
job.
but
Maybe
it's
get
a
Molson.
Or
Molson's a
Molson.
free agent right now, so is what
I
I
was where
understand.
Ape was a couple weeks ago. I supposedly didn't have COVID, but I'm not so sure.
Oh,
No, Chuck is
John's
playing.
allowed. John's allowed to say it. Listen,
Chuck's
I
playing.
was on.
sick too.
I was on the. John invited me to the Y Cars Club to do a presentation. I had a great time doing that. Thanks again, John. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, John. We have John on again.
Well, somebody was saying we should have him on to talk about the
Fair
phase
enough.
stuff. But did we do
Yeah.
that though?
We did.
I mean, I'm fine
We
doing
put
it again.
I
Yeah.
don't know if whoever finished it. Did you get it? I'll get it out.
Well, here's the thing
Yeah.
about when you get the
Yeah,
COVID.
right,
You
Tim?
spend more time worrying about how you got it than how you're going to get rid of it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Trying to
what-
track down that person that might have given it to you.
And I got to tell you, everybody I know has some cockamamie cure, right? So people are like, bro, what you need to do is take some Sprite and take a can of Sprite and pour 1 ounce of hot sauce in there.
1 ounce of hot sauce.
Right.
What
What is it
Right.
like? Smarties and Sudafed
Gonna
and
burn it out.
Mountain Dew.
Yes, my. Thank you for asking, Jeff. Yes, she spent 2.5 days in the hospital. They IV and she was actually sick, not at home whining and drinking like someone else.
Hey, listen, I
Well,
wasn't
you
able
were
to get
trying
my. I wasn't able to
kept telling me
drink.
that brown liquor would get rid of it.
No, we thought that was what was wrong with you was brown liquor.
You
We
know,
thought you
I
had
just
the
hear brown liquor and
flu.
want it.
We thought you had the flu.
I get so
No, she had
bad leg cramp.
pneumonia, and
She had
in
pneumonia. The
pneumonia in
pneumonias.
one lung. They kept her in the hospital for almost 3 days.
That's scary stuff, man.
IV antibiotics and 2 different antibiotics and a steroid and breathing treatments, and now she came home with one of those things. She has to go and do breathing treatments with this thing and make the little plastic thing float at a
she's
certain
still
value
doing
to.
that?
Yeah,
You
they want her
didn't,
doing it for 5 days. She's been
didn't
home
try
since
essential?
Wednesday afternoon.
You didn't try essential oils at all?
No, I did burn some sage,
Like some eucalyptus?
I don't even wanna
but
talk
she's
about
been here. We got her out Wednesday, and there was a family trip already planned, so they left her, which she was kind of
Trip
upset
must go
about,
on,
but got
right?
over it, and
Right.
so she's been with me since
Yeah.
since she got out of the hospital.
But yeah, everybody's got some kind
doing
of
good.
some
Lucky
kind of
her.
crazy cure for this
Her
stuff.
her appetite is back. Sweet Jesus, her appetite is back.
Good. Yeah, she's got to make up for lost time. Speaking of infirm females in our world, Chuck, how's Kathy's ankle doing?
She doesn't complain about it, so it must be fine now.
We've gone full 80 meters.
You are. She's not
I
going to
don't think
complain.
She actually sprained it, but I think she just hurt it. She hasn't really complained about it. She complained about kicking my battery box yesterday morning though, and like barefoot, and kind of messed up her toe a little bit. But
So she's back to normal then.
yeah, back to normal.
Did we look at the Palomar doublets?
No.
No.
Yeah.
And I want Chuck to explain the difference between the doublet and the the Z6S, whatever. It is.
Z
I don't know, maybe-
ZS6DKW.
Maybe Gary or you guys. I don't know what. I don't even know that. Is that the one that Don just bought?
Yeah, it's like the
5RV.
yeah, that one.
Looks like a 5RV. Just totally different type of antenna, right?
So
I
it's a
thought the
doublet that's not a doublet. That's the thing that gets people wrapped
Yeah.
up.
It's not really a double. It's just the
Ape's
only
that
thing-
big enough for you to see, buddy?
Yeah.
I think the only thing
Let's
that's
that
the
up.
same is they use a little bit of ladder line, right?
Let me get my.
But that's a tuned ladder line in that one, right? Also,
The ladder line is part of the
the tuning.
transmission conversion thing. So it's supposed to
Right.
present 50 ohms to the radio on
What's that one right there?
20 meters.
terminated dipoles. That's what somebody was talking about to us one time, right?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that they're a
Named
good
Don.
idea. I know that's
Named
dramatic.
So
When you
these are
put a
supposed
big
to
old
be
resistor in your antenna, to me it sounds like recipe for loss. But what do I know?
I don't know.
I'm guessing it's just a convenient way to stop the current from going through the end of the wire. Like this is the end of the wire, period. And then they're attaching another wire to the other side.
They
So they're
don't.
really just resisting the other side.
It doesn't look like they're selling complete kits.
They do
There's-
though.
They're selling parts.
No
They
part
got a
of it.
search on that thing.
Halyard hoist. That's a
Halyard.
sailor up there.
Let me go back to
Draw the sheet up the halyard.
Stowe.
That was a real cheap looking one too, plastic and stuff. I tell you, the weirdest thing when I
Negative.
was sick. The weirdest thing when I was sick is I lost my sense of smell, and I was putting stuff that should have burnt my nose in front of me, and I couldn't smell it, and that was like really weird.
They have a doublet kit though.
They did. Huh.
Doublet does not come up in the search at all.
Palomar had one.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find what it's called. Ladder line dipole. Search for that.
Yeah, that's what it comes up as. There it is.
Yeah, it's only $15.
So that's a G5 RV, or you could you can use it with the G5 RV, I guess.
Well, they're showing 9-to-1.
That's just the
4-to-1,
connector. That's all that is.
1-to-1.
All that is the
$15 for
mount.
the center.
And you
Yep.
can't just buy that because they have a $30 minimum order.
Well, yeah,
We love our customers.
they have the word engineer in their name, and
$30
we know that's quality
minimum?
stuff.
That means we don't understand human language and compassion and emotion. We are engineered.
We don't deal with people well. I'm a people person. That's all they got. They ain't got squat for. They got bits, but they don't. I don't see any complete kits here. The fan dipole ones look like complete kits. This website is marginally better than the True Ladder Line one.
Let me pop mine in there.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. What, oh, look at that.
Right here.
Yeah.
149.
That's the ZS60KW.
Yep.
And see, that looks expensive, but if it depends on how much that line you get, because that stuff's like $1 a foot, right? So if that's
40 feet of ladder line,
so that's 40 right there.
88 feet wide, 88 feet wide. So no tuner required for 5-band coverage, SWR less than 2-to-1.
See, thing is, getting that 40 feet in the air, that's going to be a chore.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like Hollywood said it earlier when I was bitching about the height thing. It's like it'll work, but it ain't going to work nearly as well. Height is might. And that's why something like, and I'm pimping us, but that's why something a Poseidon is stupid easy to rig up in the yard. I mean, mine's literally leaning up in a magnolia tree on a fiberglass mast, not no carbon fiber, Don. And,
See, I think they have another picture. This says that.
there's
8
more
meters.
pictures.
Hey, pop the one I got. Oh. I've got one that shows them all the different.
Hold on, go back to that box, that Ballon box.
The Ballon?
Yeah, that one. No, go the red and black connector on there.
Oh, this one.
Well, that soldering looked janky as heck.
It looks like Frank did that.
Yeah, I'd want something to hold both of those together better.
More
All right,
than
what do you-
solder.
What are we looking at here, Chuck?
This is just shows all the different ones. It was the Palomar thing. It shows.
He's got
like,
2 9-to-1s on
9.
here. What?
Well, it shows a 9-to-1 and a 4-to-1 and a 1-to-1. And the bottom one is that. If you go to the bottom one there, it shows the. Is it me? Oh, that's me, I guess. Huh?
Oh, Tim just said dun dun. Here it is. This is for you, Tim. Why
that
use
one?
an 88-foot long
yeah.
antenna? and above when 50 feet does just fine. The BKW is just a G5 RV variant.
So it's showing all the different ones. I realized I only have one screen, so, but there's the 9-to-1 and the 9-to-1, which I've never seen that before.
Chuck, we got a question for you right here.
And then, okay,
Hey, Scott.
There's the 4-to-1 setup. I'm back. Hang on, just about back.
Come on, Chuck.
Take your time.
Chip
Take
chop.
your time.
It's not like we're live.
So
Well-
in order to answer Tim's question, why use an 88-foot long antenna for 40 and above when 50 does the job just fine? So I've always been taught that more wire is more efficient, but efficiency is really hard to measure, and it's a personal thing. Like efficiency for me is in my short HOA restricted backyard is different than efficiency for you in your, wide open 40 acres.
Well, I think it's you get more current in the air with a longer wire. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think Tim's making a good point. Do you need that for 40 and up?
So I think he may have got here a little later, but the advantage to the doublet is you get 5 or 6 or 7 different bands on one antenna, one piece of wire, or one length of one doublet, one dipole basically, versus throwing up a 20 dipole, throwing up a 40 dipole, or throwing up a fan dipole, which is a really good antenna because it's a dipole. There's a lot in the air when you start doing that. When you start hanging a thing with, say you have 3 different bands on it, and you start hanging up 14 gauge wire with 3 different dipoles on it, it's real heavy. And unless you have something really sturdy to hang it on, it's hard to get up. Whereas you could do like 26 gauge if you weren't only doing 100 watts and throw it up, and nobody even see the wire in the air other than the ladder line coming down probably. And you can run that stuff down too and just space it. I don't know if that answers you or not, but
I think what we need to do is we need to make our center support section in the shape of a bird, and then when you see that massive center support section in the air,
this looks like
with
a blackbird.
no wire, it's
Make
just
it
a
look
bird.
like a blackbird or owl or something.
Yeah.
An owl would be good. You could scare other like rodents away, right?
Yep.
And then they can paint it themselves to make it look authentic.
I thought
I'm not opposed to
Gary's
doing it.
comment was pretty interesting. He's saying I'm too fixed on height. If I chuck this thing up just 10 feet in the air.
So Jim, I told you I used one at Mount Pacifico, right? I used it on a really short mast. I hooked it to a tree to get it about, I bet you I was 15 feet in the air, and that thing just killed it. It was in a V, inverted V. And I don't know if you guys remember, but almost everybody up there ended up using that antenna with a KX2 or KX3 and activated. Because we had some other antennas that were not very good. Well,
Yeah, the
Josh,
picture that you all took at that thing, they had like all the KX2s and 3s on the table, and then
everybody just brought the
5105.
radio over or used somebody else's and activated.
And then it was like a 5105 sitting there.
Oh, there you go, Hollywood. That would be wicked cool. Hollywood, that was for you. That'd be wicked cool, man. Wicked.
Yeah, I think that would maybe we'll
Wicked
have to
awesome.
line that up. We have to call our man. PM. He's not even here today either. I haven't seen him.
Who? Which one?
Our designer.
Our designer? No, it's way too early for him.
He's an hour earlier than me.
Again,
that doesn't mean it's not too early for him.
Way too early for
That's
him.
true. But he
He's
usually
probably
makes
up
it.
and
He's usually here.
he's late night. He's very late night.
Is he? Maybe he's at the night one, the Thursday night.
He probably didn't go to bed until after the sun was coming up. And the other sketchy one that ain't made it in here, that's right, Hollywood, a wicked pissa. The other one that ain't made it in here is old Adam Dennis, because it's early for him too.
No.
But he's
All
probably
right.
drinking that
Are we
corn.
there? Where are we at? I don't even know what time it is.
We're at
not
the
there.
hour mark.
Yeah.
Not there.
Let's look at some G5 RVs. Do a Googling on that.
Okay.
And so the thing is that what is the technical distinction between dipole and doublet? And then,
Amen. That was my question. I didn't want to
Ladder
ask
line.
it.
Ladder line's the technical
I'm being
distinction.
muted right now.
But what about like in a G5 RV? Is that a doublet or is that a dipole?
It's supposedly neither, but it's closest to a doublet.
Oh,
I was going to say, it looks like a doublet right here.
It looks a lot like a doublet, but there's a magical property because of the way Lewis designed it. It's a 20-meter antenna,
you talk
and the
about
ladder line converts from whatever the ohm is at the feed point of his 51 foot on each side wire. That length of ladder line is specific to convert it to 50 ohms at your radio. So it's math. It's overtime, signal overtime, and blah 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 blah. Makes your radio happy.
But I think it ceases to be a doublet if you put a 1-to-1 or a 4-to-1 on it and connect it to coaxial cable.
I mean, at some point, I have to connect it to coax. I have to go from ladder line to coax.
Yeah, so
Why?
if you look at that, you see the two hanks of wire on the lower side, and then you
Yeah.
see the ladder line, and at the end of the ladder line is a PL259. It's supposed to be 50 ohms at that SO239 connector right there.
At 20 meters for the G5RB.
At 20 meters, yeah. So that's a 20-meter only antenna. And then the world found out that if you take that antenna and hook it to a tuner, magic happens, and it's quote-unquote multi-banded.
Well, no, this is
It's-
Go ahead. Go ahead,
I
Tio.
was going to
This
say
is,
it's equally bad on any band except for 20.
I mean, it's 102 feet of wire.
Yeah, 51 feet on each side of the center. The copper is 51 plus 51 is 102.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not
What's all that noise?
Oh, Kathy's building stuff for the party today.
Oh, in that case, don't worry about it.
It's all right, Kathy. You continue.
It's okay
if-
if Kathy did it. If it was me,
Exactly.
if it was me dropping my pen.
Kathy, if you can drown out Chuck a little bit more, that would be great.
I'm making
Balin
bubble
is-
machine.
Balun is not recommended for this antenna, and it will tune normally when installed with 70 feet of coax.
Also, it's using the coax too.
A feed line
Oh,
current
it's got
choke may be
bubbles
used
everywhere.
at the station end of
You
the
guys see the
feed line.
bubbles? She's putting bubble machines together, man.
Well,
Nice.
Looks like a concert in here now. All we need is smoke. I don't want that. That would be bad.
Never get the smell out.
Have you ever noticed that, Tio, when you're out in your trailer and people have fires and you leave your vents open? Next thing you know, you got smoke inside your RV and it smells all night. I hate that.
So Rob is asking a good question. He says, "What do you think of a vertical from 6 through 80? I've had vertical antennas all my life, and I think that that's a great idea. We sell a kit
Hell
called
yeah.
Poseidon, which you can get at coffeeandhamradios.com, and that is a fantastic antenna kit for you. We have been just falling in love with this antenna all the time. And if you don't like that one, you can do the 9-to-1 random wire. We have a kit for that as well, and run that as a vertical.
60 on the Poseidon's tall. I mean, 80 on the Poseidon's
80
tall
on the
order.
Poseidon is not really
Lower
recommended.
your power. Lower your power.
Yeah, you cannot run anywhere near full power on 80.
Why?
I didn't. I mean, I did make contacts, but I didn't make a whole lot of them.
Until the thing
when
melted.
When I look at this thing, I thought it was heavier than this. When I'm looking at it, this doesn't look as intimidating as I remember it being.
How much is that? 50 feet?
Yeah, give or take. I mean, they say it's 50. It could be
Right.
49. It could be
It's
50.
fairly
I know.
stiff, so if you could get it on a pole, you could push it up and it would help hold the weight some.
Right.
It's pretty stiff.
So
It is
just
about-
imagine 200 times more of that in Chuck's house. 20 times
Yeah,
more.
Hey,
I'm
she's
mathing.
standing still.
Hey, hold that up
She's
and
an
show
earshot
Kathy
girl.
what all we're going to ship Chuck.
She's not looking.
Kathy,
This
there'll
is
be like
this
20
is
rolls
50.
of this.
Yeah, this is only 50 feet. We're going to do 1,000.
Well, now she's coming out. Oh, here,
10,000.
Might as well unbiggin him. Get me in more trouble.
Oh, good Lord.
No, not anymore. He left.
But this is not easily packable.
It'll come in
because-
3 or 4 cases, about 24 by 24 each.
Well, like one of those giant telecom rolls. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like that
Oh,
perfect.
God.
It's
Oh,
like 4
yeah.
feet across the top.
I did that for my LMR 400 for all my tower stuff. It's actually cheaper to buy it though.
I'm one of those big wood. And,
Then you had to bust that thing up.
yeah.
It's like people going to Costco where you bring in the big ass heavy bottles.
And Rob, in answer to your question,
Great.
if you don't want to do one of our antennas, which are reasonably priced, I might add, and honestly, the Poseidon is a great antenna. I'm using it with a Kenwood TS2000 right now. I did a whole bunch of parks in the air hunting last night.
I'm back.
The DX Commander is a fabulous antenna. It's also 3 or 4 times more than our antenna, but it is
How hard to set up
multi-band.
to and build.
Not real hard to build. Doesn't really require a tuner if you build it right. So,
Right.
and it's a vertical. The biggest piece you need for the DX Commander is 5 meters around it in all directions to lay out your radials.
But he said to 80, right? So the thing is that DX Commander
You can-
doesn't
you can-
natively do
you can make
80
it
on it,
80
though, does
too.
it?
You can make it 80 with an
the
L.
inverted L
Yep.
for 80.
Yep. And Callum gives you the instructions for that if you want to do 80. With a tuner, you can do 80 because I've done 80 meter FT8 on it all
So
day.
you need another contact point to put it up, though.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't have that. I did the standard 40 and up, and I do 80. I just tune.
Is an inverted L considered a vertical antenna?
Yeah, I think so. It just basically nobody can go that high usually straight up. So the inverted L just makes it easier. I did my DX Commander that way for a while, the one I originally built from scratch. And it worked well.
See Hollywood. Well, one of the things they talk about also with some of these DX Commanders is people putting a coil in the bottom of it for 80.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can do that.
Rolly was selling a coil that you tapped into the 40 line with. And
Yeah.
the coil slid over the pole, and then you could have 80 without doing the inverted L setup.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the other
So
way. To get it.
Rob is saying if he was looking at the Chameleon 250 HD, that's about $425 on DX Engineering. It is a 23-foot aluminum mast and has some type of transformer at the bottom of it. That's great. That would work just fine. But it's I think we're not charging enough for our antennas, is what I'm hearing.
I also would I would get a DX Commander before I'd buy that.
The
Which
expander
one
would
is-
actually be
which-
cheaper and
which
more
antenna
bands.
is that, Tio?
Yes.
The CHA
say-
250D, it's just
say-
a vertical.
Say
not
that
a whip.
again, Steve.
It's
Oh,
the
just
CHA
a whip.
250D is a 23-foot and change vertical with a matching unit at the bottom. That'll
That's
get you
super
80
lossy.
screws.
That's
six.
super lossy matching unit.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
the
the
DX
impact
Commander is
setup?
like 3 something. And yeah, so you're saving $100, getting more wire in the air, multi-band, it's a fan vertical setup.
Yes.
And then you can drop another $100, $200 off of that and get our Poseidon and have the same thing.
So you have options. You know, the Poseidon is multi-banded. 80 is a little sketch on it. You got to lower your power. You cannot run 100 watts on 80. Ask Ape how he knows.
That was Abe's fault, though.
It's crispy.
He had it wrapped around his tree.
But
Yeah, I
and
did have it.
60 is going to be a little weird, although I can tune it to 60 and it worked. I did FT8 on 60, but
Too many rules for 60.
for you. And
Just one. Yeah, that one rule is tough.
yeah,
So I'll
it's
probably
hard to
do it.
remember that whole whatever.
I'll
Yeah,
probably
I don't-
do a
yeah.
test here. I'll probably
40
do a
and-
test here pretty soon.
40 and down is great. 40 and up is great. Whatever. Works great.
40 and over, we'll say that.
40 and over. Yep. Oh, there's Don with a question.
There's no rules in CB, Liberty.
I was going to say that I will probably do a test on the Poseidon versus a well-known antenna that costs $500 versus our $89 kit, and let you guys know how they compare. I won't say who it is. Cha. Stuff.
Chuck, what is the difference between a doublet and a sky loop? I don't know if Don's trolling or not.
I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, I guess a sky loop is what he wants to put up. A big loop, from what I understand, loops work really well. I don't know that much about it. I've never put one up. But you need a lot of real estate sometimes for what he's going to do. He's going to try and put it up like 500 feet of wire or something. I think they tune very, very much the same, right? With a doublet. I knew guys that actually had them vertical that worked really well. Smaller versions, they had big signals all the time. But they
You're talking
also-
about a vertical sky loop?
I think he was the guy that he passed away, but he had his hung in like a square or a rectangle from like 100-foot trees, so he was up high.
Old Don's saying that they feed a sky loop with ladder line.
Yeah, I think they're similar. It's a loop. Sometimes when you do a loop, they're quieter because you don't have the ends open, right? That's the advantage to like a LFA on a Yagi. The LFA ends are closed, so they don't bring as much noise in on the feed line.
Well,
I've never
man-made
pulled it up
noise
yet.
is typically vertically polarized, and so if you have a sky loop, right, aren't they horizontal to the ground?
Most of the
So
time,
Yeah.
with horizontal antennas, you generally have a lower noise floor. In
I've always
general.
thought about. I've got a creek and a bunch of trees behind me, and the trees across the creek from me. I thought about one time just running some wire out there when at nighttime when nobody was out. Probably nobody'd ever notice it. Although
running
they-
wire in the dark, son. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, well, there's no power lines there. It's actually a good area for it.
Power lines all around me.
Yeah, well, I have power lines, but mine are out front, away from it. So it's actually it'd be a cool project because I always wanted to do a big loop like that, like Don's going to do. Actually, I think one of my
Joe
next
Brett's got one. He
Who
does
does?
really well.
I
with
was
it.
thinking he does. Speaking of
Yeah.
Joe Brett, what he must have chores to do this morning or something.
I
can't-
haven't seen him for a while. I just sent him a message asking him why he's ignoring me and what I said to offend him. And
we
I know
could
he's
call him on
sensitive,
the
like-
Ham Shack hotline.
Go for it. He's
Explain
right
yourself,
behind you.
Joe Brett.
All right.
Explain yourself.
Any more
All right.
questions? Other than that, I guess we're about to wrap this.
Yeah,
bad
I need
boy.
to get. I keep getting looks at my motorhome saying, "Where's
Ape gonna have to make water pretty soon.
I'm so dehydrated, dude. I probably won't make water today.
really?" Yeah, it's hard to get enough water in sometimes.
That's the worst part about Macy. I've had to keep nagging her to drink because she was dehydrated.
You're like, drink your water, child. Drink that
That was
water.
the thing with my mom. My mom would drink. Oh, I've drank like a glass. It would be this tall.
Yep.
I had 3 of those today. I go, that's not very much because the bottom of it's like thick glass to start with.
If I don't stay on after her about it, she carries around
Thanks,
a
Tom.
regular store bought water bottle, right? And she's drank that much of it. I got my water. You're not drinking
Right.
it.
That's the way my mom was. She goes, I drank a lot of water. I go, no, you didn't, Mom.
They can't.
Yeah.
Chicks carry a lot of water. Like they all get these cups that are like 2 feet tall.
Yes.
You know, it's like a 5-gallon bucket of water they carry around with them all
Stanley
day. I'm
cups.
like, I don't see much sipping to justify that big cup.
That's right.
We
All
gotta
right,
have
boys. I'm
All
hitting
right.
the button.
All right, hit the button. Later.
Thanks,
Oh,
all.
thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Hope this was informative for you guys. Especially
Button engaged.